The longer I ride motorcycles, the more I realise that the best riders are almost never the dramatic ones. In fact, if you watch a good rider ride, it almost looks completely uneventful. It's smooth, it's calm, and it's definitely measured. It's a bit like watching a swan glide across water, but more importantly, they are looking for things that could be happening ahead of them or within their near future. They're thinking and adjusting and riding to what might be a hazard or a danger to them. They back off or slow down early, or they accelerate quickly when things don't feel right. They change position for best view and for their own personal safety. And they do things and see things that the average person misses. And before I got into advanced riding, I don't think I noticed any of this myself. Now, I can usually spot a thoughtful rider within a few seconds. A really good rider often looks almost choreographed, and I think that's because good riding really isn't about blindly following rules or routines just because somebody has told you to do so because they were told to do so, and so on. Every road is different, every ride is different, every bend is different, every day the weather is different. Every ride is dynamic. The thing I've noticed over the years is that a thoughtful rider or thoughtful riders are often constantly adjusting to what's around them. Not dramatically, usually very subtly. Remember I mentioned earlier about that swan gliding across the water. Sometimes it's speed. Sometimes it's the position that they're in the road. Sometimes it's creating a little bit more space between themselves and what they perceive might be a hazard or a danger to themselves. And sometimes it's about making themselves more visible to other road users, because sometimes we don't get seen, and I'm sure we've all heard that expression, "Sorry mate, I didn't see you." And a good example of that is approaching a side junction. A thoughtful rider isn't just looking at a car waiting to pull out of a side junction. They're looking at the driver's face. They are looking at where the driver is looking, where are the driver's eyeballs pointing. And they're also, if they're anything like me, they're also looking to see whether that front wheel is starting to slowly turn, indicating that driver might be about to or itching to pull out. And then, if they feel they haven't been seen, they might slightly adjust their position in the road or their lane, or they might make a small ziggy-zaggy movement, as I often call it, just to catch the driver's attention. Because thoughtful and experienced riders all understand something that's very important. Most of the dangers on a motorcycle don't arrive completely out of nowhere. Very often, there are small clues beforehand, and good riders are quietly thinking about and reading those clues beforehand and all of the time. Not tension, not fear, just adjustment, because there is absolutely no such thing as a perfect ride. I make mistakes and I mess things up. And I absolutely ride past situations and think to myself, blimey, I could have handled that one better. And honestly, I actually think that's healthy. Good riders don't stop learning. And that's why I think that good riding often looks so smooth from the outside. Remember earlier when I said it almost looks like it's been choreographed. Not because it's effortless, even though it might look like it is, but because so much thought is happening underneath the surface. I think that's why riders who've impressed me the most over the years are often the riders that I barely notice. They're not riding to impress anybody, and they're not forcing the pace. They're not trying to prove anything. They're just thinking, watching, planning, and adjusting. And maybe that's what good riding really is. No showing off, no rigid rules, and not pretending to be fearless. Just paying attention to what's happening around them. And no matter how long you've been riding, there is always something new to learn.